guys are on.
Good morning. Happy Thursday. I'm here with Andy Sevillano. Look
Good
at
morning.
him. You know, when I was like, hey, do you want to come to the show? And you're like, okay, Christy. I think it's funny because when I think about you and I see you all dressed up, so often in your presence, and I think about high school,
Right.
Button shirt,
Yeah.
the fun guy over in the corner.
Yeah, in high school, I came out here when I was 16. Shave head, long white socks,
Long white socks.
baggy shorts.
Yes.
The Pendleton up to the neck. And, what do you expect? I came from the LA area.
He looked a little scary, and then he just hugged you like a big old bear hug.
I feel like I'm still like that, though,
Yeah.
Coming from the hood.
Yeah. It was a nice neighborhood, but it still was the hood. I mean, it was the greater LA area, so.
Yeah.
The barrio.
So I think we open it right to there. Obviously, you are a representative of Bullhead City Police here today,
Yes.
and yourself and your life. But you didn't start there, for sure.
No, absolutely not. So I grew up in a small city, Santa Fe Springs, California. Most people recognize Whittier, which is right next door. Grew up there till I was about 16. Older brother, who has since passed, was getting into some trouble, and so my mom and dad wanted us to get out of the neighborhood, and we had an uncle that lived in Bullhead City, actually Fort Mojave. So we moved out here, didn't know anything about the desert. I thought we were crazy.
Where the heck are we
Yeah,
going?
what are we doing, right? So I left a high school of probably 2,100 students, and then I ended up at River Valley because that's where my cousin was going, and they had at that time, I think, 600 kids.
Wow.
Yeah,
If
and
that.
I was like, wow, what is
What-
happening? What is happening?
What just
there, right?
happened?
Okay, I can run this school.
Yeah. I did learn quickly, though, that you didn't need to have the California chip on your shoulder when you came out here. But I had to learn the hard way. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's a different style of living out here, and I love every minute of it. And so it was a great move for our family, and I'm glad that my parents did that for us, and I continue to thank them every day for that.
Yeah, changed your world,
Absolutely.
which they obviously meant to do, so it's
Yes.
good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously living in LA and the career paths out there and some of the peer pressures that you're involved in, sometimes you don't have a choice in life.
Yeah.
You grow up in a neighborhood where they expect you to do certain things or hang out with certain people, and sometimes you don't have that choice. And so I was blessed enough to move out here, and my parents gave me that choice, which obviously eventually opened up the door to me being a police officer. So after high school, I always wanted to be a football coach. Was kind of my deal. I love football. I love kids. I love coaching. So I got a job at Mojave High School when I was real young. I was only like 20. And I started coaching with them, volunteering. And that was kind of my career path. Like I was going to go to school, become maybe a history, PE, something that I enjoyed, right?
Yeah.
And then coach football. That was kind of the goal. And I got approached by, at that time, Brian Williamson, who became the police chief.
I love him.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, have you ever thought about being a cop? And I'm like, no way.
We're like, listen, man.
Like, no, like growing up, like, no, cops were not our favorite people. They weren't nice to us. I grew up in LA in the 90s where you had LA County Sheriff's Department, and nothing against them. I love you guys. But they were rough in the 90s, and
Yeah.
especially towards kids that maybe didn't fit the bill, And so I had some run-ins that were not, positive in any way. And so when he asked me, I said, no way. That's
Yeah.
not me, But then I did some thinking, right? And I started talking to my mom and dad, and I talked to my family, and I said, what do you guys think, right? And they were on the fence, too. They're like, I don't know. That's
It's a whole different
a
world.
different world.
It's a big commitment.
Right? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And maybe I didn't even understand the magnitude of what I was applying for, right? And I probably don't. And I probably didn't, I should say,
Yeah.
back then. Because this is a very serious job and responsibility. And at 22, what do I know, right?
Yeah, I get to put on a
So,
uniform,
right.
arrest people. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like you get to drive fast and shoot guns, right? You see it in Hollywood, although it's nothing like that, I
No.
will tell you. But I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's see how this thing works
Yeah.
out. So I fill out an application, and then before I know it, I'm shipped off to the academy in Prescott.
Ooh.
I come back and I'm on patrol. Here's your uniform. Here's your gun. Here's your car.
Oh, boy.
Don't mess up.
Yeah, go enforce Arizona law. Wow, what just happened, right? And so that's kind of how the career started, and then it just kind of just kept going. But I always made myself a promise when I joined the force, and I was talking with parents, talking to important people in my life to make this decision. I said, I would never be that cop that I ran into when I was a young kid at 12 at my local park, who did not treat me nice, did not do the things that a police officer should do. The way the police department represents itself, he did everything that you should not do. And I always promised I would never be that guy. And until this day, 19 years later, I believe I have never been that guy, including arresting people, right? Arresting people doesn't make them a bad person. They had a bad day. They had a bad moment. Yeah. They're someone's brother. They're someone's kid. They're someone's son. They have a mom. They have a dad. We get it. They have family. And that's the reality of it. It just doesn't make them a bad person. I think sometimes people forget that. We deal with people at the worst moment in their life. And our job should be to help them in that moment. And if that means taking them to jail to help them, then sometimes that's the result. But it doesn't mean that it makes them a bad person. And that's our job to remember. And that's what I've always tried to do in this career.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. That's
the first
amazing.
impression is amazing what it makes on somebody. It's like, like you said, you're the first officer you had a showing with is one that left a big impression on you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I still speak about it today, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, I was 12. I was scared. I didn't know where my parents was. I really didn't know how the outcome was going to be. Like, I didn't know if he was going to take me somewhere and beat the hell out of me. I really didn't know. I didn't violate any laws. I knew that, but I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he thought I was doing something I wasn't, and that's just kind of how it went down.
Yeah.
Well, and look at where it's got you. Ultimately, it helped you make a decision, obviously later on.
Right.
But you've been able to change, the face of the uniform.
Yeah, and hopefully that was the goal, right? And early on, I always said that I would never be that guy. And as my career started to evolve, there was a time in my career I said, okay, now that I know I'm not that guy, how do I now make my department better by helping other guys within the department, younger guys, be that guy, right?
Yeah.
And tell them your story.
And the only way to do that, and the only way to do that is to promote. And so I was in the schools for a very long time as an SRO. And then, as my career took me to different places, I became a general detective. So I was in detectives for 3 years. Then I promoted to corporal, which is a first-line supervisor, to supervise the patrol guys on the streets. And then I promoted to lieutenant. And now I'm over the whole patrol bureau, which means all of the young patrolmen that come out of the academy, I'm ultimately in charge of them and hopefully shaping their minds and helping them understand why it is we do what we do and who we do it for, because that's the most important part is our community.
What year was the first year you became a police officer?
I started in 2004.
2004,
Yeah.
Wow. And you were there for a long time before you were actually promoted to corporal? Is that?
Yeah, so I was in the schools for about 10 years, and then I went to detectives for 3 years. So about at the 13, 14-year mark is when I promoted to corporal. Then I was a corporal for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then I promoted to lieutenant. So I've only been a lieutenant about 2 years now, fairly new still, but, kind of getting used to my new role in the police department.
Well, and the truth is you kind of could have just sat there and, did your thing, but you wanted something different. You wanted to
ultimately,
share.
I gave up a really good schedule. I won't lie, because in the schools we worked Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, and weekends and holidays off, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you leave the schools, you go back to patrol schedule, which means you work Christmas, you work Thanksgiving, you work New Year's, you work the holidays. And I was on swing shift. I worked 2 to midnight.
Ooh,
and so,
which is hard when you have a family.
Right. Yeah. And I worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Oh.
So, yeah. So there was
all the games.
Yeah, there was no life
this.
for me, right?
Yeah.
And so, I had to give that up. But knowing that there was a bigger cause and a bigger goal at the end of that. And so those are the sacrifices that you make. So
that was 2019 you became corporal. And then in 2021 you were promoted to lieutenant.
That's correct.
And we have these photos here.
Let's look at them.
Talk about that.
Yeah, there's my wife pinning my my new badge on. We get a new badge every time that we promote with our rank on it. And then I think that's Corporal Espinosa, who also got promoted at the same time as
Eddie.
I did. Eddie.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's the promotion ceremony that you're looking at there
that's
of
cool.
us receiving, all of our accolades and everyone give speeches about us.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is so weird.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Though. That's really cool.
Before we get into your lovely wife and your family, what's what do you usually tell a child who comes up and is just like, I want to be a policeman one day, or I could never be a policeman?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the first part about that, when you ask them, I want to be a policeman one day, that's great. The things that you need to concentrate on is school is very important. A lot of people don't realize for about, 15, 20 minutes of action, police action, you're going to write about a 2-hour report.
Right.
So English, reading, and writing is very important in our profession, and we write tons of reports, right? So we talk about being smart in school and studying and doing those things, being disciplined in school, and we talk about choices, because the choices that most kids make from about 16 to probably about 20 shape whether or not they can become a police officer. There is a laundry list of things that would disqualify you from becoming a police officer. And if you do any of those things even one time,
just by checking yes,
you're automatically disqualified. So, of course, even if you check no, well, in the process, there is a lie detector test and all these other things that we
get through it.
that we check it, right? So it's easier to just be honest up front. But that's what I tell the kids, right, is that the choices they make will shape whether or not you can become a police officer, because that's the reality, right? And the kid that says, I don't want to be a cop, I tell them, that's fine. You don't need to be. But just know that that is an option if you ever choose to be, because, of course, they can be whatever they want. Like I said, I never wanted to be a cop. I didn't even know I wanted to be a cop until I was a cop.
Like, shoot, this is what I am.
As I was applying, I still am thinking, I'm filling out this application. Those days it's still paper. Right now it's on the computer. But I'm filling out an application going, I still don't want to be a cop.
Like,
what am I doing?
What's happening
right?
here?
Yeah, all the way up until it turned it in. Am I really doing this? I turned it in and I said, well, I guess I'm doing this.
I'm in.
No turning back now.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Oh, my 12-year-old self. Oh, that's a tough one. I would probably say pretty much echo what I just said to the young kid who wanted to be a cop, is that I would probably study harder and be a little bit more attention to detail in some of the stuffs that I did. And some of the choices that I did make, I would probably change them going back
better
and
decisions.
and making better choices, and decisions. And that's one of the big reasons why when I was in the schools, I ran the youth group at Fox Creek and Mojave for students against destructive decisions, because every decision, right, it could be destructive, could be positive or negative, but it all shapes how we live our lives and ultimately where we end up. And so I always promoted that from a very young age in this career to other youth. And so I would probably have to tell myself that if I had to talk to my 12-year-old self.
Like, just watch what you do. You can be anything you want to be.
Yeah, we got a comment in the chat. It says, it's by Sammy Craig saying, I got into so much trouble with him at school.
Well, hopefully I had a positive impact on your life, Sammy. So
yeah, that's true.
Can we change this now?
But I will say that, those years in the youth group and what those kids really taught me a lot about myself too. So hopefully not only did I impact her life, but they definitely impacted my life, and I will share that. And I see a lot of those kids now that are obviously no longer kids. I mean, they're in their 20s, and that makes me feel really old, but they're doing really well, and they come up and they talk to me, and, we talk about when they were in junior high or when they were in high school, and it's fun to see that, especially in a community like ours that's smaller, and we do run into a lot of those people, and now they have kids. I mean, I was at Mojave's football game, and one of the kids that I coach, his son is playing with my son.
Oh,
and wow. I said, wow, that's amazing.
This is wild, huh?
Yeah.
Pretty cool, really.
Yeah.
So it was very cool.
That is awesome.
That's awesome.
So you have an amazing family. Can we talk a little bit about them?
Sure. I have 3 kids, a wife, 3 kids, Dina, my wife, and 2 boys and a daughter, Andy Jr.,
so cute.
Alexander, and Addison. Don't pop quiz me on their ages. I always get them wrong, but
they go to Mojave.
I
just
know,
so you know.
right? I'll guesstimate. Andy's he's going to be 15 actually on Sunday this week.
Oh, December birthday.
Yeah, December birthday for sure. And then Alex is 10. Addison is 9, and so they keep me busy. Andy plays football pretty much year round. If he's not in season, then it's weight season or off season programming. Alex plays basketball and soccer, Addison does dance and soccer this year. So
Cool.
it's a full schedule. It's a full schedule.
So
keeps you
kudos to your wife, obviously.
Yes, obviously, right?
Yes.
Yeah, without her, the program wouldn't work. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about that.
It's all about teamwork.
How are you able to kind of separate both worlds? Obviously, your statue in town
Yep.
takes a lot of time, and your
It does.
family takes a lot of time.
A lot of balancing act, and early on it was tough, and there was not a lot of balance, right? And I was overcommitted. But what I learned was, and through the process, is sometimes you have to say no to people.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And I know for you guys, because people need,
Yeah.
they want you guys to attend different events as well.
Yeah.
And you learn to sometimes just say, I can't do it. I'm sorry.
can't.
I
Yeah.
want to. I love your program. I would, be there, but I have X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, and as I say that, because I know, like yesterday I had, on Tuesday, I double booked my events, and it kind of messed me up a little bit, but I was supposed to play Santa, and then I also had a city council meeting. So I
You're
had,
like, I can't
Right.
be both
You
places.
can go
I
with
can't
Santa.
I can't be both places at once, right? And I try to tell the boss that. I'm like, boss, I can't do city council. I got to be Santa. He's like, really? Okay.
He's like, I'm sorry, we're
I
gonna have
guess
to
I'll
find
be at
someone
city
else for
council,
Santa.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I learned to balance that with, saying no to some.
Yeah.
But really, when it comes, that's my obligations, right? But when it comes to community events, like this Saturday, we have the Winterfest at, Winter Wonderland. They renamed it at the Anderson Fieldhouse.
Yeah, that's a big deal for
It is,
town.
and I have to work it, right? Because that's part of my job. But my kids will be there with me. And so a lot of the community
Kind of learn
events,
to incorporate them.
we just learn to incorporate and grow with the community, whether it be a soccer tournament, whether it be a softball tournament, Tournament of Champions, the air show that's coming up in April, all these events.
Bike week.
Bike week,
Yeah.
President Trump, when he was here, my family's at the events. Even though I have to work it, they're at the event. So I learned to incorporate it and bring them in as much as I can so that, it is kind of one. But really learning to say no is the biggest one that I've learned.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I'm sure sometimes she's like, I'm going to poke your eyeballs out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, my long days equal even longer days for her, right?
Yeah.
Because now she has to pick up all the kids. She has to do the dinner. She has to do the laundry.
Yeah.
And when I'm strolling in 8:30 at night, yes, my day is long and I'm exhausted, but I have to remember that hers is even longer.
Right.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That's
That is
good.
cool.
That's why it works. Good teammates.
Well, let's talk about Shop with a Cop. That's
Sure.
That's something.
So
that
yeah, let's get into your community stuff. I mean, it really is amazing. I feel like you are everywhere, and so you do a really well job.
I think that they just, they just take enough pictures of me that I look like I'm everywhere, right?
I like it.
Kind of like the ending of the Three Amigos, if you ever seen the movie, right? There's only 3 of them, but they look like there's 60 of them. They're kind of everywhere. They do a good job. So
these are obviously big to your heart. I
Yes.
see you every year, in these photos and part of this kind of team, which is super, super exciting. Tell us a little bit about it.
yeah, so every year we take 100 kids to Walmart and spend $100 on whatever they want. This year, actually, we were blessed enough with our fundraising abilities that we were able to take 115 kids and spend $125 on each kid.
Wow.
So we were able to
Nice.
bump that up from contributions, obviously, from people that are listening to the show, the city, and people that donate to Shop with the Cop. So that's
Which
great.
I can't say enough. You ask the community to show up, and
they do.
99% of the time they do, and it's rewarding in these
Absolutely,
moments.
and it all goes back to the kids. All that money that is donated to Shop with the Cop goes back to the kids, and so they are blessed every first Saturday in December. And so I'll share a quick story, and I hope I'm not running out of
No,
time
please
yet.
do.
But
You got plenty of time.
I've done Shop with the Cop every year, right? And every time I move in the police department, I have always put pressure on either coworkers or anyone that's under me, like, hey,
Like you're showing
you
up.
need to be there. You need to be there, right? And so now that I'm over patrol, I went to every briefing, so all the day shift, all the swing shift, all the graveyards, and I just shared a story with them and left it their choice, right? You don't have to come, but let me share a story with you. And this is the story that I told them. I said, I'm going to be here 19 years next month, and I've been to every Shop with the Cop since I've started. I said, I can tell you that I don't remember every single kid that I've ever went with, but I can guarantee that those kids all remember me.
Yeah.
Because they come up in the community and they tell me, they hug me, and they're like, "Oh, I was 7 and you took me Shop with the Cop." Do I remember that kid? No,
But they do.
But they remember that, and hopefully that positive interaction carries with them the rest of their life, and that they pay that forward.
Man,
as
you're gonna
they
make
grow
me
older.
cry.
You know, and so, and one of the stories that I also shared with them, I said the one shopping experience I will never forget, and sometimes it does choke me up, and so I hate to tell this story because it still gets to me, and this was probably a good 10 years ago, is that the kid didn't spend any of his money on toys, clothes, or nonsense like we normally see. He actually went grocery shopping because he wanted to have a breakfast Christmas morning with his family. So he bought eggs, milk, orange juice, bacon, sausage. I mean, talk about heartbreaking, right? And so obviously, as we're going through this and we're shopping, I'm calling Lori Duggins, who you guys all know.
Yeah.
Lori Duggins is really the face of Shop at the Cop. She's amazing. We could not do it without her. I'm like, Lori, we got to figure out a way to get this kid another $100 gift card. Like, no way I'm going to let him spend all his money
Can't
on
let
food.
him leave.
Yeah, like we're going to get him this food. Yeah, absolutely. But give me another gift card because then I'm taking him toy shop. This kid deserves way more than what we're giving him. So we worked it out where we were able to actually get him stuff for him. But yeah, I'll talk about heartbreaking, right? And to knowing that kid wanted to spend his $100, that he has pretty much free reign of anything he can choose
for his family.
He wanted a family breakfast. That was the biggest thing on his mind. So that was heartbreaking. So when you share a story like that, and then I tell the guys, but it's up to you if you want to show up or not.
If you don't want to, no problem. Mark,
so
cool in your stocking.
The story must have worked because we had one of the biggest turnouts we've ever had last Saturday, and so I appreciate the guys and the women that showed up. Yeah. So
yeah. When you get in those moments with those children, it's life-changing for you and it's life-changing for them. And you kind of, sometimes maybe you forget that, you kind of think, oh, they're excited to take away toys. But you're right in the fact that it changes their look on policemen.
Right.
And feeling safe and getting moments just to talk to them and laugh and giggle. And, you get to put a smile on their face. And who knows, they may be the next policeman.
Yeah, we never know, and we certainly encourage them if that's what their desire. But it truly is a good interaction with them because we start at the Elks Lodge, and during that time is the kids are still half asleep. They're eating breakfast.
Yeah, they're usually there by like 6:30 in the morning.
5.
7? Oh, sheesh. Oh yeah, because you have a lot.
They start checking in at 5 because it takes some time to check them all in. 115, right?
Yeah.
So we're normally there from about 5 to about 6:15, just kind of mingling with the kids, feeding them, right? Make sure they have juice, whatever, and that's when we really get the interaction with them. And then as we line up and we load the kids in the car, that's when the interaction continues because then we go to Ken Folvark Park and we kind of align our cars in a parade style. But as we're waiting, we let the kid hit the lights and sirens. Our kids,
get to get comfortable.
They were on the PA system. They think it's funny to tell the other officer he's under arrest. And, and so it's a fun opportunity to just interact with the kids and learn about them. They learn about us. And, we show them whatever we want in the car, the equipment, and just answer questions. And then, of course, we take the parade of lights and sirens all the way from Ken Folvark up to Walmart, and they really enjoy that. They love to hit the air horn and, and
they love all those buttons.
And all those things as we roll through red lights with the lights and sirens. Like, oh, we're going through a red light. They love that, They love that stuff. So it's just a great time interaction. And then, of course, we parlay that and roll that into our next one, which is currently happening this week and next week, which is the Santa Sleigh. And the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, they're putting that on this week and next week. And what a lot of people don't know about that is every officer that you see out there during Santa week is all in their own time. None of that's paid for. That's all volunteer.
That's cool.
So those guys work 10, 12-hour shifts.
You kind of think like, oh, they're all getting paid.
Right.
They're just out here drinking coffee and hot chocolate.
So they'll work 10, 12-hour shifts, and a lot of them go right from day shift, roll right into Santa Sleigh. Or
which is another few
they
hours
work graveyard and they wake up early, work Santa Sleigh, and then go right into working.
Wow.
Yeah, so all of that is volunteer. That sled is all put together by volunteer hours. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the guys worked all off season because our sled was actually damaged by the storm at Fort Mojave.
Oh, that's what Lori was saying.
Yeah, and so we had to rebuild it from the ground up, and a lot of those guys put a lot of sweat and tears in rebuilding that, and we can't thank them enough for doing that. But yeah, that's all volunteer hours, just so you guys know when you see us out there with lights and sirens with Santa.
And that's tonight, actually.
Yes.
At 5:30, they'll be at Riverfront and, let's see, the RV Resort.
Yep.
And then 6:05 they'll be at 7th Street and Lee Avenue.
Correct.
And then at 6:35 they'll be at Sam's Club. That's a big one. I know
that's
that.
a big one. Yes.
So if you want to check them out, guys, get over to Sam's Club at 6:35.
I will share a little sneak peek on that.
Okay.
Santa tonight will have a nicely tan because he spent some time in tropical island. So if you recognize this area from Santa later on and with a tan,
he went to the tropical island.
I don't know how good I'm going to be though. I got to practice.
Yeah,
we'll see how that works.
We'll
later.
practice.
We're gonna practice that. You're gonna have to dye your beard white.
I know. Yeah. Well, it's getting there. It's getting there slowly. Yeah.
How exciting. Again, you watch the community come together often. I know that you see it probably even in the dark times, when you're helping people in the middle of the night or during the day. And I think one of the biggest rewards for me being part of the community is to see how we come together.
Oh, absolutely.
No one stands alone.
Yeah, absolutely. This community is great. And one of the, ones we just saw recently, not only with the storm, but you fast forward even to great community achievements. You look at Mojave High School, who made the playoffs for the first time in a long time. And the community was able to rally together and get them a charter bus, which is important when you're traveling 6-7 hours.
Yes.
In less than probably, 3 or 4 days?
Oh, yeah, it was fast.
It was amazing.
Yeah. It was fast.
And then to see all those people show up at the high school to send them off in a good farewell, it just does truly show what this community can do for us.
Well, and when you have a coach like Rudy who's so heartfelt and just, he's just in it. Like, you just are so excited. Yeah. I even, had a green sign for him that
It's hard
day.
not to get excited, I know, even though you're a River Valley.
They're like, why are you holding that sign upside down? I'm like, I'm not.
They give me a hard time, too, because I graduated, obviously, River Valley, right? Original Line 6.
Yes.
And so, they give me a hard time.
I try to tell Shane, listen, we've all grown up together with all these littles. So no matter what school they go to, you love them. Like, when we play each other, obviously, it's a little rough. Besides that, I'm rooting for you.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a little friendly competition, though, right? A little friendly rivalry.
Yes.
So
let's talk about, so you've really accomplished a lot of your goals. You've been in 19 years.
Yes.
And you've done a lot. What does that look like for your future? What's that look like?
Like I've always heard a lot of people say, and I like it, we're not done yet, right?
We're not done
yet. I have one more year to hit my 20, right? That's kind of the golden number. Everyone loves to have 20 years under your belt because you technically can retire. But I'm young, and what am I going to do, right? I'm
be so bored.
I'm not going anywhere. So I have a lot of years left, and so with that being said, obviously, if I was blessed enough to promote to captain and then eventually the chief, absolutely. I would love to lead this department. I would love to lead the city. And I think everyone knows I don't really shy away from this anymore like I used to. But when I do eventually retire, I do plan on running for city council. And
I love it.
I'll get your vote now,
Listen.
That's right.
Yeah, you have questions. He's got answers.
Well, I certainly try.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you for being here today.
Real quick, I want to show this picture before he goes. This was a Community Achievement Award you got.
Yes. Yeah, Spirit of Arizona. Was it 2021?
That was, yeah.
Yeah. That was very cool of them to choose me for Spirit of Arizona. I really wasn't familiar with it, but I guess it just somebody who represents everything that the Spirit of Arizona stands for of commitment and
I think
community.
It's a lot for what you do in the community as well. I mean, we have so many pictures that we didn't show of stuff that you do in the community. Let's kind of roll through them here real quick. Different events that you've done and charity events that you do and promotional events that you do. I mean, with the kids, it's a big deal that you've been out there. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and really it's for them, right? I mean, this is not for us, even though we're in the photos. I mean, all that we do and we get out in the community, it's for the community, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's to answer their questions, to get them comfortable with us, to help them in any way that they need help, whether it be, hey, I have a problem down the street, there's people speeding, or can you talk to my kid? He's having some problems at school. I mean, it's a variety of issues that we go and hopefully can answer for the community. And really, as we continue to do those events, we invite people to come out and share those issues with us so that we can kind of fix it, figure it out, and help them with their community to get better.
That's cool.
We're all in this together, right? I mean, it's our community. It's not just theirs, it's ours. I live here.
That's right.
I have kids. I'm not going anywhere. And so the better this community is for not only me and them, it also is for my kids.
That's cool.
I love it.
Very cool.
High five to that, my friend.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate you. Thank you for all that you do.
Absolutely.
This will not be our last time.
No, we're going to definitely have them again.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
Anytime.
guys. Don't forget, support local, shop local, and have a great day.
Bye, everybody.